Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving deep today into something absolutely foundational for the future of business. We're talking about how companies are actually evolving or, sometimes really struggling to evolve in this transformative age of AI.
Yeah, it's a huge topic right now.
Just think about the massive shifts technology has driven throughout history. I mean, the steam engine, electricity.
Completely changed everything.
Yeah.
Manufacturing, transport, daily life.
Right. And then the internet connecting the world, reshaping communication, commerce, how we get information. Now, generative AI is hitting, well, pretty much every corner of the business world, and it feels like a comparable shift, maybe even faster this time.
That's right. We're definitely not just talking about incremental improvements anymore. And our source material for this deep dive captures this picture perfectly. It's a really fascinating white paper titled AI Age Business Evolution Blueprint.
Oh,
It's a collaboration between CE Ives, Tzine, and Growthbox. And the great thing is, it's not just theoretical. It gives us a roadmap, from the high-level strategic vision right down to the practical implementation details.
and real world examples too.
Yes, exactly. Some very specific examples of companies already trying to navigate this complex landscape.
And our mission today is, well, basically to cut through the noise and the hype. We want to really understand the core challenges and the successful strategies this report lays out. We want to explore why AI adoption isn't always the smooth, rapid process people expect, despite all that potential. We'll try to decode the different strategic paths companies can take, look at specific examples. I think you mentioned Medea, Yili, L'Oreal.
That's right. Those are some key ones covered.
Okay, see how they're actually doing it. And finally, maybe peek into the emerging trends shaping the very frontier of AI in business.
Sounds good. And the report kicks off with a really powerful, almost provocative idea right at the start. It says, AI is the new oxygen.
The new oxygen. Okay, that's a strong metaphor.
It really is. And it's a core concept we need to grasp up front because it sets the stage for this whole discussion on business evolution. The report draws this compelling analogy to the Cambrian explosion.
Ah, the Cambrian explosion. Right, that period, what, like 540-something million years ago when life on Earth just, boom, exploded into this incredible diversity.
Exactly. Most of the major animal groups we see today trace back to that period. It was this sudden burst of complexity after billions of years of pretty slow, simple life.
Single cells, mostly.
Right. And scientists think this explosion happened at least partly because of a big environmental change specifically. A lot more oxygen in the atmosphere and oceans.
Okay, so more oxygen-fueled, more complex life.
Yeah, reaching a certain threshold allowed for more efficient metabolism. It provided the energy needed for more complex multicellular life forms, with specialized organs and activities. It's like finally getting a fast charger for a phone that's been stuck on low power. Suddenly, life had the energy to get incredibly complex and diverse.
So the analogy is that AI, especially this new wave of generative AI, is like this new oxygen for business. It's a fundamental change in the environment, enabling this potential for an explosion of new commercial species.
Precisely. This latest wave of generative AI, especially the large models, is likened in the report to a general-purpose technology, like electricity was.
Okay, a GPT.
Exactly. And the key difference from traditional AI, which was great at very specific, narrow tasks like recognizing images or translating text.
Right, needing tons of label data for just one thing.
Correct. But this new generation, built on these massive neural networks with billions, sometimes trillions of parameters, shows what the report calls human-like abstract reasoning and cross-domain transfer capabilities.
Okay, that's the game changer.
It is. It's the first time machines have shown this kind of cognitive closed loop, understanding context, summarizing patterns, and crucially, creating new knowledge.
Creating new knowledge. Wow, that's a huge leap beyond just processing or automating. It's genuinely generating new ideas, new content.
Yes, it's a generalist, capable of complex, open-ended tasks. The report gives examples like automatically generating marketing content, dynamically capturing consumer needs, driving product innovation.
Even disrupting business models.
Even disruptive innovation in business models, yes. This capability reshapes value creation in ways that are real-time, personalized, intelligent, automated.
Wow, so it's not just using AI as a tool anymore. It's becoming more like an ecosystem element that fundamentally changes how businesses operate and compete.
Exactly. The report calls this a new era of cognitive restructuring in business competition. AI is becoming essential, potentially enabling this massive burst of growth. New business forms like oxygen fueled that explosion of life. That's the landscape this report explores.
Okay, so we have this picture of immense potential AI as the new oxygen driving this whole new era of business evolution. But here's where it gets really interesting, right? The report dives into what it calls evolution's dilemma, why companies are saying one thing and doing another about AI. It highlights this major disconnect, this paradox.
It is a striking point. Despite all the talk, companies seem to be struggling to translate that enthusiasm into widespread, impactful action. The report breaks this down into two main parts.
Okay, what's the first part?
The first part is the expectation versus reality gap.
Right.
And externally, you can't deny the market buzz. Data from Goldman Sachs shows AI keyword mentions by S&P 500 companies just exploding, exponential growth. By late 2024, half of these major U.S. companies were talking about AI in their earnings calls. That's a huge jump in stated focus.
And other data backs this up. McKinsey, maybe?
Absolutely. McKinsey found 65% of respondents expect generative AI to bring significant or even disruptive changes, and 72% were already using AI in at least one business function. So from the outside, or based on what companies say, it sounds like AI is everywhere and changing everything.
But then the report looks internally and the picture changes.
Dramatically.
Yeah.
A Deloitte 2024 global survey found something really counterintuitive. Interest in generative AI among executives and business leaders actually declined from Q1 to Q4 2024.
Decline as the year went on. That seems odd.
It does. Think about it as more was presumably learned. Interest among key decision makers dropped.
Wow. Does it say by how much?
It does. C-level interest down 16%, managers down 15%, business leads down 8%.
So who is still interested?
The only group with consistently high interest was technology leaders. Their interest was stable, maybe even up slightly.
Okay, so the tech folks are still keen, but the business and strategy side is cooling off.
That seems to be a key implication. It highlights this potential internal disconnect. Maybe the initial excitement wears off as the practical challenges hit home, or as concrete business value proves elusive outside of tech itself.
This internal cooling versus the external hype, that leads to the paradox about actual deployment, right?
Yes, this is where the saying one thing, doing another really shows up. The report points out that from 2019 to 2024, every single year, somewhere between 17% and 25% of companies claimed they deploy AI capabilities within the next year.
Okay, so if that happened, you'd expect huge growth in deployed projects.
Double-digit growth, easily. But the reality, much slower. Actual deployed projects only increased by 2% to 5% annually during that time.
Whoa, that's a massive gap between intent and execution, year after year.
It is. The headline insight is pretty clear. Despite the buzz, most companies are still failing to translate AI potential into widespread, measurable value. It's a significant strategic challenge.
It's not just slow adoption, it's something more fundamental.
Absolutely. The report backs this up with more data. Gartner found only 48% of Gen AI projects even reach production. And it takes, on average, 8 months just to get from prototype to production.
8 months, and nearly half don't make it.
Exactly. IDC data is even starker. Only 28% of managers expect ROI from AI projects within a year. The report even notes that, according to some sources, Gen AI deployment is actually lagging behind things like blockchain or AR/VR.
Really? That's surprising given the hype. What about specifically in China?
Similar pattern. Over half of large enterprises are exploring Gen AI, sure, but only 20% have actually allocated specific budgets or achieved tangible results. Exploration high, commitment and results lower.
Okay, so a clear picture. High hopes running into some serious friction when it comes to real business integration and getting value at scale.
It absolutely does. Which brings us nicely to the second part of this evolution's dilemma. The report calls it the strategic gap in AI projects. This part tries to explain why this disconnect exists, looking at different levels of the organization.
Okay, let's start at the top. Issues with leadership.
Right. While most CEOs globally say AI is a top strategic priority, the report finds only about 35% have actually developed a clear strategic vision and a roadmap for how to implement it.
So they know it's important, but most haven't figured out the how or the where yet.
Precisely. And for the 64% without that clear roadmap, their pilot projects tend to yield very little return, which naturally prevents scaling up.
Makes sense. If the pilots don't show value, why invest more?
Exactly. A core issue identified is difficulty defining specific, measurable business goals for AI projects and proving ROI. The report suggests many companies rush into implementation before clarifying what specific problems AI can actually solve for them.
The classic solution looking for a problem.
It often seems that way. And compounding this is a breakdown in communication. Business teams might not fully grasp AI's potential, while technical teams understand the tech, but maybe not the critical business needs.
So they're not speaking the same language.
Pretty much. And that makes successful implementation incredibly difficult. There's some stark data from RAND. Standard IT projects fail about 40% of the time. AI projects, they fail 80% of the time.
80%. Wow.
Yeah, and the main reasons cited: misunderstanding project intent and poor communication.
That really highlights the strategic gap you're talking about, especially at the top.
It really does. The failure often isn't the tech itself, but the organizational and strategic process around it. Now, moving down the organization, the report identifies issues at the mid-level too.
Okay, what's happening with managers and departments?
Well, without that unified top-down strategy, departments often just pursue AI initiatives in silos, based on their own local needs.
Leading to...
Lack of synergy, maybe even conflict. The report notes about 70% of managers feel their company's AI applications are basically islands, not connected or integrated. Very inefficient.
And this creates tension.
The data suggests it does. Over 60% of CEOs feel AI project advancement causes tension, specifically between management and employees and between IT and other departments.
So trying to implement AI is actually creating friction inside the company.
Seems like it. There's also a perception gap about who holds the power. Managers tend to see the CEO and IT having about 70% of the decision power over AI.
Okay.
But employees see it differently. They see IT having 50%, executives 30%, but business departments holding at least 15%, much more influence than managers perceive.
That suggests a lack of clarity on who's really driving the business side of AI strategy.
Could be. And there's this huge gap in optimism, too. 80% of CEOs are optimistic about AI progress.
Yeah.
Only 30% of mid-level managers share that optimism.
30% versus 80. That's massive. If the managers actually overseeing the implementation aren't optimistic, that's a huge red flag.
It suggests they're seeing challenges up close that maybe the CEOs aren't fully recognizing. And finally, the report looks at the grassroots level, the employees who are actually expected to use this stuff.
Right. What's the picture like on the ground floor?
Well, understanding and readiness can be pretty disconnected from management's view. Adoption seems slow. While 73% of managers think AI projects are planned well and proceeding smoothly, only 47% of employees agree.
Another gap. And what about employee attitudes?
They're mixed. About 60% are positive. They see it improving quality, for instance, but only 21% see new opportunities for themselves personally. And a concerning 35% are actually negative, mostly citing a lack of confidence in mastering the necessary AI skills. That's a big training and upskilling challenge right there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Fear of the unknown, feeling unprepared. That can definitely breed negativity.
But maybe the most striking statistic, the one that really jumped out at me, is this. 31% of employees know their actions are negatively impacting company AI projects, things like data leakage. And they simply don't care.
Wait, say that again? Nearly a third know they're causing problems and are indifferent.
That's what the data indicates.
That's incredible. That points to a really fundamental lack of engagement or understanding or maybe even active resistance down the line.
It really does. It underscores the depth of the organizational and cultural challenge here. It's not just technical. It's deeply human. It involves motivation, training, communication, alignment, all the way from the top to the bottom. That saying one thing, doing another dilemma seems rooted in this really complex interplay.
Okay, so given these significant challenges, the expectation gap, the strategic gaps at different levels, the employee resistance, how do companies actually move forward? The report proposes a framework, right? A blueprint to help decode the path forward for enterprise AI strategy.
Right, it moves from diagnosis to outlining a potential solution. It suggests that formulating a clear AI strategy requires thinking along two key dimensions.
Okay, well, what are they?
AI strategic objective breadth and AI implementation depth.
Strategic objective breadth. So like what business goals AI is targeting, and implementation depth is how deeply integrated it is.
Exactly. And the research cited shows that leading companies, about 76% of them, are much better at effectively aligning AI tech directly with their business goals. That alignment is crucial.
Okay, let's break down strategic objective breadth first. The report gives three main categories of business value.
Yes, three sort of horizontal categories for the different kinds of goals a company might pursue with AI. The first one is cost reduction efficiency.
Right, the low-hanging fruit maybe. What's the goal there and where do companies typically start?
The goal is basically to stabilize the core business,
Yeah.
achieve quantifiable cost savings, productivity gains, make the existing machinery run smoother and cheaper. Entry points are usually mature business scenarios where the ROI is pretty clear and measurable.
Wow.
Things like generating ad copy or marketing content, automating parts of customer service, processing documents intelligently, using AI as an assistant for employees, code generation, automating finance or HR tasks, maybe optimizing supply chains.
Okay, so areas where AI can automate tasks or provide quick info access, leading to pretty direct savings.
Precisely. The second category is driving growth.
This sounds more focused outward towards customers and revenue.
It is. The goal here is strengthening customer relationships and experiences, expanding new revenue streams based on existing ones. Entry points are often new business scenarios where AI enables a different way of delivering value.
Such as?
Data-driven precise marketing, optimizing social media operations, interactive marketing campaigns, personalized product recommendations, generating sales leads, enhancing community or private domain marketing.
So using AI to find new customers, sell more to the ones you have, or just improve how you interact with them to boost the top line.
Right. Leveraging AI to expand market reach and deepen that customer engagement. The third category is business model innovation.
Okay, this sounds like the most transformative one.
It definitely is. The goal here is fundamentally transforming the commercial model itself, making bigger bets on future exponential growth opportunities. Entry points often involve shifting from just thinking about products to thinking about solutions and platforms.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. Things like turning standard products into highly personalized services, maybe in design, education, or consumer goods. Converting expert knowledge, like in law or finance or research, into scalable data applications or services. Or embedding AI capabilities directly into intelligent hardware, like electronics, home appliances, medical devices. Integrating AI into personalized custom manufacturing furniture, apparel. Or using AI as part of a larger solution combining software and hardware, especially in manufacturing.
Wow. So instead of just selling a product, you might be selling a personalized service powered by AI or turning niche expertise into a scalable AI service. That's a huge shift.
It is. These represent fundamentally different levels of ambition, and the report cautions against, spreading resources too thin across too many unclear projects.
Focus is key.
Exactly. Leading companies apparently run about 40% fewer AI experiments than average, but they expect 2.1 times higher ROI from the ones they do run.
Interesting. So fewer, bigger bets that are better aligned.
Yeah.
Where do these leaders tend to focus for maximum value?
They focus heavily on core functions, operations, sales and marketing, R&D, supply chain. That's where about 62% of the potential value lies, compared to only 38% in support functions, like customer service, IT, finance, HR.
Okay, so focusing AI where the core value is created and delivered makes sense.
Yeah, the specific breakdown is roughly 23% in operations, 20% in sales and marketing, 13% in R&D, and 5% in supply chain.
Got it. What about the role of leadership in this? Top-down drive is important, right?
Crucial. CEO leadership, framing it as a #1 project, is vital for strategic direction. But there's a potential pitfall noted.
Which is
CEOs might set the overall vision, but then neglect the implementation details in specific scenarios. The report notes something counterintuitive. CEOs in leading companies are more involved in overall strategy,
yeah.
but their involvement can actually drop significantly when it comes to identifying and prioritizing specific application scenarios compared to CEOs in lagging companies.
Wait, the laggard CEOs are more involved in prioritizing specific applications. That seems backward.
That's what the data suggests. The implication might be that if leaders don't get involved enough in the details of how AI will be applied, they might miss critical pain points or opportunities, slowing progress. Or perhaps the leader CEOs set a better overall strategic framework that empowers others more effectively. An interesting nuance.
Okay, that covers the first dimension, defining the breadth of the objective. What about the second dimension, AI implementation depth?
Right, this dimension describes the journey, the evolution, from initial trials to full integration. The report outlines 3 distinct stages here. The first stage is concept verification.
What does that look like in practice?
It's all about rapid deployment for small-scale trials, focusing on a single business pain point, aiming for quick wins. Resource investment is limited, the cycles are short. At this stage, AI typically acts as an AI assistant.
An assistant, meaning?
Meaning it provides information or maybe some preliminary analysis, but it doesn't make the final decisions. It's auxiliary decision support. It's usually an external add-on to existing workflows, task-oriented for a specific problem, and requires continuous human oversight or manual supervision.
Okay, so a helpful tool that sits on the side, basically. Not deeply integrated, not making critical calls on its own.
Exactly. It helps with a task, but doesn't fundamentally change the workflow yet. The second stage is scaling up.
This is where successful pilots start to spread.
Yes. The project expands to multiple scenarios, maybe across different departments. This requires significantly increased resources and takes longer, a medium cycle. The decision standard now shifts more towards ROI and the benefits of scale. AI becomes more like an AI co-pilot.
A co-pilot, how's it different from an assistant?
It's more integrated. It systematically enhances employee work efficiency and decision quality. It forms a complementary working model with humans, especially for more complex tasks.
Yeah.
Deep collaboration. It gets integrated into standard workflows, and it expands horizontally across multiple business scenarios.
Okay, so it's actually embedded in the process, working alongside humans across more of the business.
Yes, deep collaboration and broader scope. The third and most advanced stage is organizational restructuring.
That sounds like the most profound change.
It really is. Here, resources are strategically reorganized for a very long cycle. The focus shifts to long-term strategic value and building differentiated competitiveness. AI now acts as an AI autopilot,
Autopilot, meaning fully automated.
achieving end-to-end automated decision-making in specific defined areas. It involves redesigning the entire business operation architecture based on AI capabilities, creating entirely new business models and value delivery methods. AI elevates from just being a tool to becoming a core strategic asset.
Wow, so rebuilding the company around AI's capabilities to create fundamentally new value and competitive advantages. That's deep.
Precisely. It's a fundamental transformation, and the report emphasizes the importance of getting those quick wins early on, especially back in the concept verification stage.
Why are quick wins so important?
They build momentum, demonstrate value, and secure buy-in for further investment. Google research suggests focusing initially on improving employee productivity often yields rapid results. For CMOs, for example, the top quick wins are things like content creation, 53% see this, social media interaction, 14%, and getting insights from social media data, 12%.
Makes sense. Tangible benefits early on. And moving beyond concept to actual production increases the certainty of ROI.
Yes, significantly.
Mm.
Google Cloud data shows projects reaching production have much higher ROI certainty, 74% reported. Long-term, integrated systems start contributing noticeably to revenue. 50% estimate at least 6% incremental revenue after a year in production. Leading companies often have over 10 deployable AI scenarios running.
Okay, so to move through these stages, especially into scaling and restructuring, is it just about top-down mandates? We will now use AI.
No, and this is crucial. Scaling AI requires more than just top-down orders. It absolutely needs bottom-up participation and buy-in from employees.
Back to the people on the ground.
Exactly. McKinsey research suggests that things like providing training and integrating AI seamlessly into existing workflows are actually more effective than just setting strict KPIs for AI usage. And finding or cultivating AI advocates among employees is really powerful. 60% of these advocates have directly helped push projects forward.
Yet, you mentioned earlier that training is lacking.
That's the disconnect. Deloitte found only 22% of companies had fully trained their employees on relevant AI skills, even though 70% of those same companies expected Gen AI to change their talent strategy.
So companies know they need to change their talent approach because of AI, but they aren't actually providing the necessary training for most employees yet. That's a problem.
That's what the data implies. The report lists things employees say increase their AI use. Seamless integration into workflows. That's 57%. Just getting access to the tools, 52%. Formal training, 48%. And having incentives, 50%. And those AI advocates, they help by confirming opportunities, 45%, showing AI's value, 45%, educating others, 41%, and actively using and experimenting with the tools themselves, 40%.
Okay, so putting these two dimensions together, the strategic objective breadth, cost reduction, growth, innovation, and the AI implementation depth, concept, scaling, restructuring, that gives us the 3x3 AI strategic matrix, right?
Yes, exactly. This matrix visualizes how companies can choose pilot projects across those different objectives and then progress through the stages of depth. And it's not necessarily a straight line. A company can have multiple paths going at once, maybe pivot directions.
And the report stresses that true success isn't just having some AI tools here and there, but fundamentally reshaping business processes with AI. This is critical. Accenture data highlights this starkly. Companies that are actually redesigning processes around AI, that group grew from 9% to 16% of companies. They have significantly higher performance.
How much higher?
2.5 times higher revenue growth, 2.4 times higher productivity growth, and they're 3.3 times more successful in actually scaling their AI initiatives compared to others. It's the remodeling driven by AI that truly unlocks the major value.
Okay, so how do companies turn AI from just being a series of projects into becoming a core capability,
Yeah.
driving that remodeling? The report identifies four key strategic action areas.
Yes, four things companies need to focus on. First is process redesign, which
What?
means going beyond just patching existing processes. It means completely redesigning end-to-end workflows based on what AI makes possible now, and using new metrics focused on the overall outcomes, not just intermediate steps.
Okay, that aligns with that idea of restructuring the business around AI. What's second? Second is capability solidification. This means making AI a standard part of the enterprise configuration, not just a series of special projects. It involves developing internal AI platforms or tools, building AI capability centers, integrating AI into standard operating procedures. Basically, embedding AI into the organizational DNA.
Making AI just a normal, accessible part of how the company operates every day.
Exactly. The third area is continuous iteration.
AI isn't static.
Right. Treat AI systems as learning systems, not applications you deploy once and forget. Establish data feedback loops, develop real-time monitoring and auto-optimization capabilities, plan for regular updates and improvements. Building in that learning cycle is key for AI.
Absolutely. And the fourth action area.
Organizational synergy. This is about breaking down those departmental silos we talked about earlier to create new collaboration models,
Yeah.
forming cross-functional teams bringing together business, data, and tech people. Adjusting performance metrics and incentives to encourage collaboration, changing decision-making processes so that data and AI insights are standard inputs, not afterthoughts.
And the report highlighted a big gap here.
A huge gap. 87% of leading companies apparently have deep collaboration between tech and business teams on AI. But 88% of companies still in the basic stages have almost none of this collaboration.
Wow. That stark difference must directly impact how broadly and deeply they can apply AI.
Absolutely. It's a major bottleneck.
Okay, that framework is really helpful. Now, to bring this all to life, the report presents these case studies. 6 companies' AI strategic best practices. These are the evolution samples, right?
Yes, exactly. And before diving into the specific companies, the report highlights something interesting, kind of Matthew effect with AI adoption.
The Matthew effect. The rich get richer.
Sort of. Large companies, those with over $20 billion in revenue, seem significantly more aware of the risk of not adapting to AI. 71% of them recognize they'd be at a disadvantage if they don't adapt.
Okay, versus smaller companies.
Smaller companies, under $5 billion, only 56% recognize that disadvantage. This crisis awareness gap, as the report calls it, might help larger companies justify investing more heavily in AI, letting them gain first-mover advantages and potentially solidify their positions.
So the bigger players feel the urgency more acutely. That's interesting.
That's what the data suggests. And it reinforces the idea that success isn't just about running pilots, but moving projects into production. That's where you get higher ROI certainty and noticeable revenue contribution. The report shows a correlation. Companies spending a higher percentage of their IT budget on Gen AI report higher satisfaction with the ROI.
And conversely, companies not using Gen AI seem hesitant or fearful.
Yes, almost 60% of those not using it are uncertain about it or say they won't use it. And 35% of executives overall fear errors or mistakes if they try to scale AI projects. These fears definitely contribute to that gap between talk and action.
Okay, so against that backdrop, let's look at how some of the leaders are actually doing it. First up is an international durable consumer goods retail brand.
Right. This company focused on cost reduction and driving growth, and they seem to have reached the restructuring stage in some areas. Their key distinguishing practice, according to the report, is technology democratization. They made a conscious effort to involve tens of thousands of ordinary employees in using and innovating with AI, not just keeping it within the tech department.
Tens of thousands. Wow, that's a massive bottom-up initiative. How did they manage that?
They built a dedicated AI innovation team whose job was partly to translate the technology into business language. They used things like A/B tests to clearly demonstrate value in practical areas, like warehouse efficiency or creating social media content. They also established an AI learning club. Importantly, it was interest-based, with no strict KPIs attached initially, which fostered bottom-up innovation and a sense of ownership among employees.
So less pressure, more exploration.
Seems like it. In China, specifically, they empowered frontline staff to use AI for social marketing. It was a human-AI collaboration model.
How did that work?
AI would help with things like analyzing trends, topics, customer feedback, and generating initial content outlines. Then employees would iterate on that, add their local knowledge or creativity. Then AI might help generate basic text, images, video assets. And crucially, data feedback from campaigns was used to optimize what worked, creating hits and sharing best practices.
So AI handles the scale and data analysis, but humans provide the nuance, creativity, and local relevance, all refined by data feedback loops.
Precisely. This apparently turned their social platforms into vibrant consumer connection hubs, driven largely by employees, enabling what they called a small investment, big voice strategy. The insight here seems to be shifting from a traditional top-down communication model to an empowerment network, where employees themselves become key nodes of brand communication enabled by AI.
Very interesting. Okay, the next case is a national home furnishings brand.
Right, this is an interesting one. An established e-commerce brand that was facing a market slowdown and made a big pivot into new retail, opening over 1,000 physical stores. Their main challenge was figuring out how to create scalable content for marketing and how to empower all those new dealers effectively. They focused primarily on driving growth, moving towards the restructuring stage.
And their ambition was huge, right? Something about social media accounts.
Yeah, their goal was to have 1,000 Matrix accounts on Xiaohongshu by 2026. They learned from platforms like Douyin that massive scale is often necessary to gain traction in social media these days.
Oh, 1,000 accounts. That sounds like an absolutely massive content creation challenge. How did AI help them tackle that?
They built what the report calls an AI plus full domain content matrix. This system covered multiple platforms like Gaowei, Meituan, Dianping, Douyin, Zhaohongshu, and allowed them to centralize traffic acquisition while localizing service through their dealers. The accounts themselves were decentralized, operated kind of like key opinion customers, KOCs, localized by city or even specific store address, and also themed around hot products or topics.
And the content.
They used a horse racing strategy, basically, testing lots of variations and using data to quickly optimize what worked best. AI was absolutely key for generating the sheer volume needed, helping with planning, bulk generation of text, images, video, even mixed media content, and then optimizing based on performance data. They adopted a publish first, optimize later approach.
So AI handled the immense volume, and data feedback refined the output quickly. What was the value proposition they saw?
The report calls it brand efficiency synergy. On the brand side, they gained significant incremental exposure from all this natural-looking, low-cost AI-assisted content. On the efficiency side, they achieved massive scale. Even if the conversion rate of any single piece of content might have been lower than perfectly handcrafted content, the sheer volume meant the total number of customers acquired increased significantly.
Scale trumped perfection.
In this context, yes. And they made sure to link this AI-driven traffic directly to sales outcomes by assessing dealer follow-up rates and conversion optimization efforts. Their organizational approach involves strong, high-level leadership setting the strategy, but then distributing the tasks widely. They used distributed AI, importing various tools and enabling all staff to use them, rather than creating a dedicated central AI department. They set realistic project goals, took a scientific view of AI's capabilities, and kept business value at the core. They were also very open to external collaboration, using, quote, almost all mainstream AI tools and partners. The core insight seems to be that scale thinking is the key to winning in digital competition today.
Okay, next up is Midea, the big manufacturing leader.
Right. Midea is a great example of a traditional manufacturing giant really embracing AI. They've invested heavily in digital transformation for years, over 20 billion yuan since 2012, apparently. Their group focused on AIGC in 2024 aims specifically at improving efficiency, boosting creativity, and enhancing product competitiveness. The defining characteristic highlighted in their case is a strict ROI-based methodology.
ROI driven. So every AI investment has to prove its worth in measurable business value.
Exactly. Quantifiable value is key for them.
Where have they seen results, say, in cost reduction?
One example is content production. Their AI text-to-image tools generated over 300,000 e-commerce product images and promotional visuals in just the first half of 2024. This saves significant outsourcing costs, and their internal platform, mDesign, actually changed the workflow for designers. Another area is their intelligent Q&A system for both internal use and customer service. They use clear metrics like direct pass rate and adoption rate to quantify the value and measure how much manual workload is being reduced.
Okay, clear cost savings. What about efficiency gains in their actual manufacturing operations?
This is where it gets really impressive. Their Chongqing factory, which is recognized as a lighthouse factory by the World Economic Forum, uses AI for some significant gains. Things like an 81% compression in the selection cycle time for certain processes, a 45% improvement in design efficiency for some components, and a 31% reduction in maintenance costs thanks to predictive alerts from their iBuilding service platform.
Predictive maintenance, how does that work?
The system apparently uses AI to analyze sensor data and predict about 90% of potential equipment failures up to 48 hours in advance. It's described as being like an equipment electrocardiogram. It proactively pushes maintenance suggestions. This has led to a 52% reduction in the mean time to repair MTTR for critical equipment. That's a very tangible impact on operational uptime and efficiency.
That's incredibly concrete, reducing repair time by over half. How are they using AI to drive growth?
Several ways. Enhancing product interaction using voice and semantic understanding in smart appliances.
Oh,
Optimizing energy-saving algorithms in air conditioners. Improving computer vision capabilities in robots or smart cookers. They also have a Voice of Customer (VOC) project that uses generative AI to analyze vast amounts of online comments for sentiment and insights, which helps accelerate suggestions for product iteration and improvement.
and their organization supports this ROI focus.
Yes, they have a structured four-layer system for AI: infrastructure, algorithm platform, application integration, business application. Development is very much business-driven. A central AI research institute handles basic research, but the specific application development happens within the business units, BUs, and there's a clear cost-sharing mechanism. The insight seems to be that value creation starts with identifying and verifying business needs, which then leads to capability building and eventually organizational restructuring. They seem to follow a path from internal applications first, then external, and from B2B applications towards consumer-facing ones.
Got it. Our fourth case is Yili, the dairy giant.
Yes, Yili stands out as being very forward-looking. They actually launched their own self-developed large model platform, Yili AI, just months after OpenAI's models gained widespread public attention. Their core philosophy is that the business perspective must drive the technology and data strategy, always linking digital performance metrics back to concrete business goals. They're focusing across all three strategic objectives: cost reduction efficiency, driving growth, and business model innovation. And they seem to be well into the restructuring stage.
So, okay, let's start with driving growth. How have they used AI in product innovation?
They've implemented a full-chain digital system that supports product innovation across 5 key stages. A really interesting highlight is their external product managers co-creation system.
External product managers.
Yes, they engage high-value consumers in the innovation process. AI plays a key role here. It helps auto-generate targeted questionnaires and discussion outlines, processes unstructured feedback from consumers like voice notes or text chats, and rapidly generates insight reports. This system apparently compressed months of traditional consumer research work down to just 3.5 days. And importantly, it democratized this research capability, making it accessible to more teams internally, not just specialized researchers.
Months down to days. That's an incredible acceleration and expansion of capability. Any specific product examples?
Yes, the report mentions the Changqing Baozu yogurt. The success formula was described as precise demand insight, X agile concept verification, X precise market penetration. AI was used for analyzing consumer needs, identifying a desire for chewy fun, targeting specific consumer communities, using data analysis to refine the recipe and flavor profile, and digitally monitoring sales performance. The result was record repurchase rates, and it became the #1 new product in its category.
Wow, a clear link from AI insights to market success. What about using AI in marketing?
They're using AIGC extensively for full domain marketing to drive growth. One campaign mentioned involved their Gold Collis infant formula brand, partnering with Huawei Music and a celebrity singer, Jay Zhang. They used AI combined with music to create the first NV for baby, spread it virally across multiple platforms, used engagement formats like PK contests, and ran monthly themes. This campaign achieved over 3 billion exposures and generated over 1 million pieces of user-uploaded content.
3 billion exposures. That's massive reach and engagement. Okay, how about cost reduction and efficiency?
In their supply chain, they use AI for intelligent milk dispatch. This system optimizes routes and logistics considering factors like plant capacity, driver habits, even weather, aiming to balance cost, freshness, and agility. The report claims they achieve performance better than the industry best practice. They also deployed an AI agent as an equipment knowledge assistant for maintenance staff. Trained on terabytes of historical data and manuals, it helps frontline workers quickly find information to troubleshoot and repair equipment. This resulted in 98% user satisfaction and, similar to Medea, a 52% improvement in repair efficiency, MTTR.
Again, very tangible operational improvements. And you mentioned business model innovation. What are they exploring there?
They're actively exploring a shift from being just a dairy manufacturer to becoming a broader health lifestyle provider. A key initiative was building the first domestic nutrition and health vertical large model in partnership with Food and University. This model, trained on a massive database, 10 million plus entries, aims to democratize scientific health knowledge by providing personalized Q&A with high accuracy, reported 94%. Furthermore, their QQ Star Milk Powder brand now offers integrated AI-powered health services. This includes offline health screening capabilities combined with online services like data syncing, AI-driven report interpretation, and personalized nutrition consultations. This creates a screening service bill conversion loop, aiming to build deeper user relationships and valuable user data assets.
That's a significant move into services. What does the report say about their success factors?
Several things. Strong, high-level support and a sense of crisis awareness. Why continue living was a framing question apparently used. An integrated organizational structure focused on digital business integration triangles, activating talent through things like a digital leadership certification linked to promotion, and wide internal promotion of their AI tools like Yili AI, which has around 3,000 daily active users. And finally, an open ecosystem approach, collaborating actively with universities, tech companies, and sharing data technology where appropriate. The core insight seems to be about transforming the company's implicit knowledge and expertise into explicit, scalable digital assets through AI.
Fascinating. Case number 5 is L'Oreal, the international beauty group.
Right. L'Oreal positions itself explicitly as a beauty tech company. Digital transformation is deeply embedded in their DNA. They're focusing on cost reduction efficiency and driving growth, and like Yili, seem to be in the restructuring stage. Their core logic is that the modern beauty user journey increasingly demands augmentation through technologies like AR, VR, and AI to deliver personalized and immersive experiences. Crucially, they view AI not just as a tool to add to old structures, but as a force to remake the business form and restructure the organization, starting from the mindset level. Their standard for innovation is it must be meaningful for business and scalable.
And specifically in China, they identified a key challenge around content.
Yes, they framed it as content is the new currency. This was driven by the explosive demand for content, the fragmentation of channels, the high cost of traditional content production, and the sheer number of consumer touchpoints, like 10,000 plus retail points, needing personalized communication. They saw AI-powered content production as a way to create more brand building and conversion opportunities efficiently. To achieve this, they transformed their approach from being a traditional content factory to becoming a content mid-end, or hub, using a platform called the China Content Hub, CCH, developed with Tezine.
Okay, what exactly is this CCH platform?
It's described as a closed-loop system, covering the entire content lifecycle from ideation to distribution. It integrates various AI engines, uses modular design principles, and is localized for China, paying attention to things like data security and training models on L'Oreal's own historical content to maintain brand identity.
How is using CCH different from just using off-the-shelf generic AI tools for content?
The report highlights several key differentiators. First, it protects brand tonality because it's trained on their specific history. Second, it has built-in compliance checks relevant to the beauty industry, like ethical guidelines, rules around using human photos. Third, it's explicitly designed for human-AI collaboration. The idea is humans handle the initial 0-to-1 creative spark, and AI helps scale the 1-to-100 execution. Fourth, it allows for regional specialization. And fifth, it's designed to foster cross-department collaboration.
Is it being widely used?
Apparently, yes. Usage is high, around 80% of the relevant teams at L'Oreal China in Paris, and even higher in functions like e-commerce that have intense content demands.
What are the core scenarios where they're using it?
Two main ones are highlighted. First, e-commerce scale production. Sales teams can input basic product information, like in an Excel sheet, and the system automatically generates various assets needed for different e-commerce platforms. This drastically reduces design time from hours or days down to minutes, freeing up designers for higher value creative work. Second, member private domain operations. CCH powers the empowerment of their beauty advisors, BAs, by auto-generating content for things like WeChat Moments posts. It also helps incubate content from key opinion customers, KOCs, and it ensures consistent messaging across thousands of counters nationwide.
That sounds like a direct impact on both efficiency and the effectiveness of their sales channels. Can they quantify the value?
Yes, the report mentions quantifiable value like direct cost savings in management and communication overhead, efficiency gains from specific AI engine features like smart cropping batch edits, and a significantly shortened creative cycle time from 3-4 months down to 1.5 months for some campaigns. There's also intangible value like freeing up creatives to focus on more strategic work and fostering culture of innovation.
What were their success factors in getting this adopted?
Multi-level change management was key, both top-down sponsorship and bottom-up engagement. They use a rural surround urban strategy, initially targeting departments under high pressure, like e-commerce, where the need was greatest. Comprehensive training and incentives helped manage the gradual change. Technically, breaking down content data silos was important, connecting CCH to distribution channels and data analysis teams for cross-department sharing. They also used a small test-first strategy, A/B testing different content versions to improve ROI, and CCH archives content effectively for future reuse. It's presented as a long-term effort that builds organizational agility and digital capacity. The key insight emphasized is that fostering human adaptation and growth for human-AI co-creation is perhaps the ultimate challenge and goal.
Okay, fascinating. Our final case study is Shutterstock.
Yes, Shutterstock, the well-known digital content licensing platform. Their case is really interesting because they faced a potentially existential threat from generative AI, which could theoretically replace the need for their core asset licensed stock photos and videos. But instead of fighting it, they strategically pivoted, seeing an opportunity in GenAI's known issues around data provenance and copyright, and recognizing their customers' growing need for legally safe, trustworthy AI-generated content. They focus squarely on business model innovation, reaching the restructuring stage.
So they effectively turned a major threat into a new opportunity. How did they do it?
They executed a clever three-step transformation. First, back in 2022, they formed a strategic partnership with OpenAI. They licensed their vast content library for training OpenAI's models. In return, they gained early access to the technology, but more importantly, they created a brand new business model, selling their data for AI training. This move also positioned them as a source of legal AI content.
That's a really smart way to monetize their existing asset in a completely new context. What was step two?
Step 2 was addressing the creator side. In late 2022, they launched a creator fund. This fund shares the revenue generated from licensing content for AI training back with the original artists and creators whose work was used. This move helped solve the ethical dilemma around using artists' work, created a moral differentiator for Shutterstock compared to models trained on scraped data, and crucially, maintain the relationship with their vital creator community.
Supporting their artists while leveraging the content for the AI future. Smart. What was the third step?
Third, they integrated AI tools directly into their platform. In early 2023, they added their own AI image generator, transforming themselves from just a content library into a broader creative solution provider. They also expanded partnerships with other major tech companies like Microsoft, NVIDIA, Apple, striking multi-million-dollar deals to license their data for AI training.
It sounds like they didn't just adapt, they proactively built a whole new ecosystem around AI.
They really did. An ecosystem involving Shutterstock, their creators, the large model companies needing legal training data, and the end customers wanting legally sound AI content. It became mutually beneficial. Their legal, ethically sourced assets became highly valuable for training and generation. Creators got a new income stream. The large model companies got the data they needed, and Shutterstock thrived.
What were the results of this transformation?
Pretty dramatic. Their new business segments, primarily data licensing, distribution partnerships, and services, grew more than tenfold in just 4 years. These new segments showed significantly higher growth rates, 28% for traditional licensing and higher profit margins, 72%, Minis 58%. Selling data alone generated $104 million in revenue in 2023, grew another 15% in the first part of 2024, and was predicted to hit $250 million annually by 2027. Their innovation director was quoted saying the AI partnerships not only boosted content quality, but also helped artists gain a stronger voice regarding rights and compensation, making them more valuable as content demand grows.
That's a remarkable turnaround and pivot. These 6 cases really demonstrate the wide range of AI strategies and the potential outcomes when companies manage to move beyond just simple pilot projects towards deeper integration and sometimes full restructuring.
They really do. They show that evolution takes different forms. It can be about empowering employees across the board or building massive automated content machines or rigorously optimizing manufacturing with an ROI focus or innovating new products and services based on deep insights or fundamentally restructuring workflows around content creation or even transforming the entire business model by strategically embracing the AI wave instead of fighting it.
Okay, so finally, let's look ahead. Where is this evolution heading? The report titles this last part, Evolution Unfinished, Frontier Trends in AI Business Application. It makes the point that AI becoming oxygen is really just the beginning of a potentially much bigger explosion, right?
Exactly. That journey from concept verification to scaling up to organizational restructuring is ongoing. As companies build these capabilities, and as AI technology itself continues to evolve at breakneck speed, new possibilities are constantly emerging. The report highlights three key frontier trends that are shaping what's next.
Okay, what's the first frontier trend?
The emergence of more vertical scenario solutions and AI natives, leading to more mutations being born. Basically, innovation is becoming more bottom-up and specialized. And leaders might actually be underestimating how much their employees are already using AI. McKinsey found 13% of employees use Gen AI in over 30% of their work,
Wow.
while only 4% of managers believe this is happening.
Another one of those perception gaps. Employees might be further along in adoption than management realizes.
Exactly. And then you have the AI natives, typically those born after 2000. They are inherently comfortable with these tools. Data shows 95.2% have used AI tools, nearly 42% consider themselves proficient, and almost 47% use them daily. Simultaneously, there's a boom in vertical AI tools, models, and platforms optimized for specific industries like healthcare, law, finance, construction, education. These tools encode domain knowledge, making them more effective for specific tasks. Combined with the rise of low-code and no-code AI platforms, this is dissolving traditional barriers like lack of technical capability or no suitable models available. Business experts can now deploy sophisticated AI applications sometimes in days or even hours. Competitive advantage seems to be shifting away from just owning the core AI tech towards deeply understanding business pain points, redesigning processes effectively, and building robust human-AI collaboration models.
Okay, so more specialized tools, easier access, and a workforce increasingly comfortable using them. What's the second frontier trend?
From single AI tool to agent collaboration, promoting scale and systematization. The focus among leading tech companies is rapidly shifting towards AI agents, or Shinengti.
AI agents, we hear that term a lot. What does it mean in this context?
Here, it refers to AI systems that can do more than just respond to a prompt. They can self-plan, make decisions within certain boundaries, maintain memory or context over longer interactions, and utilize external tools or data sources to accomplish complex, multi-step tasks autonomously. Mark Zuckerberg predicts a future with billions of these agents, potentially outnumbering people, with every business having them almost like they have email addresses or social media accounts today. As companies move further into workflow restructuring, these agents that can automate complex operations will become crucial. The human role shifts more towards being the system designer or overseer. You might even see multiple specialized agents collaborating with each other, almost like digital departments.
Is this happening now, or is it just future gazing?
It's starting. A Google survey mentioned shows about 10% of companies are already using agents in some capacity, but a huge 82% plan to deploy them within the next 3 years.
82% in 3 years? That's incredibly rapid expected adoption for what kinds of tasks?
Mostly for things like customer support, enhancing employee efficiency, assisting with creative work, data analysis, code generation, and security operations.
Okay, a significant shift towards more autonomous AI. What's the third trend?
The third trend is that industry vertical models will become enterprises' digital DNA. To make AI truly systemic and overcome the limitations of general-purpose models, like integrating proprietary knowledge effectively, adapting smoothly to internal processes, mitigating data privacy risks, companies with sufficient AI maturity are increasingly looking toward developing or heavily customizing their own industry-specific or even company-specific vertical models.
Why call this digital DNA? That's another powerful metaphor.
It's powerful because the analogy holds up well. These vertical models aim to encode the company's unique knowledge base, its specific operational logic, its secret sauce, potentially decades of accumulated expertise, best practices, proprietary data, and distinct ways of working. Just like biological DNA carries the blueprint for an organism, this digital DNA carries the company's unique identity and operational intelligence in a digital, scalable form.
And like biological DNA, this digital DNA can also evolve.
Exactly. That's a key part of the concept. These models can continuously learn from new data and adapt. Successful models or components can be replicated and expanded across different departments or functions. Different specialized models might even combine or collaborate. And critically, this approach helps preserve vital enterprise knowledge beyond the tenure of individual employees. While the report notes only about 7% of companies were currently training private models on their own data, a significant 54% plan to upgrade towards using small models, which includes these specialized vertical models, within the next 2 years.
So the future isn't just about using generic AI tools, but about companies actively building their own specialized, evolving AI intelligence that becomes absolutely core to who they are and how they operate.
Precisely. These trends together suggest a future where AI is not just a helpful tool added on top of existing structures, but deeply integrated, increasingly autonomous, highly specialized, and truly fundamental to the enterprise's identity, capabilities, and competitive advantage. The report concludes that once AI truly becomes that indispensable oxygen, the full-scale evolutionary burst in the commercial world, that Cambrian explosion analogy, may really just be beginning.
Okay, so what does this all mean as we wrap up? This deep dive into the report paints a really clear picture, I think. AI isn't just another piece of software to install, it's a fundamental reshaping force, truly the new oxygen potentially driving the next wave of business evolution. We've seen that companies are facing very real, significant challenges in bridging that often large gap between the massive expectations around AI and the messy, difficult reality of implementation. They're battling these strategic disconnects that seem to run all the way from the C-suite down to the frontline employees.
But the blueprint is there, as the report lays out. There's a strategic matrix thinking about objectives and depth. There's a clear emphasis on moving beyond just pilots to actually reshaping core processes, solidifying AI as a true organizational capability, iterating continuously, and fostering that crucial organizational synergy between the tech teams and the business teams.
And those case studies gave us some really tangible examples of this blueprint in action. We saw everything from empowering tens of thousands of frontline employees with AI for marketing at the retail brand, to that home furnishings company building a massive AI-driven content matrix to achieve scale, to a manufacturing leader like Medea rigorously applying ROI metrics to drive efficiency and growth with AI.
Right, and then Yili using AI across the board for full chain product innovation and launching entirely new health service business model. L'Oreal fundamentally restructuring their global content workflows around their CCH platform. And even Shutterstock turning an existential threat into a multi-million-dollar opportunity by strategically licensing their content for AI training data.
The journey is clearly far from over. The frontier, as we just discussed, is pushing towards even more specialized vertical AI, towards collaborating AI agents that can automate increasingly complex workflows, and towards companies building their own unique digital DNA and proprietary models that actually encode their core knowledge and operational logic. It really does feel like we're witnessing the early stages of what could be a massive evolutionary burst in the business world.
It certainly has that potential. The environment is changing rapidly.
So here's a provocative thought for you, our listener, to consider based on everything we've just discussed. If the companies achieving the most success with AI aren't just using off-the-shelf tools, but are fundamentally redesigning their core processes and integrating AI into their very digital DNA, then what hidden processes, what uncaptured knowledge, or what currently unlinked departments exist within your own experience, maybe in your current role, your own business, or even an industry you follow closely that could be the starting point for your next evolutionary leap using AI? Think about where that new oxygen of AI could potentially fuel a transformation, maybe one you haven't even imagined yet.